You're listening to Parasearch Radio, news, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio. Parasearch Radio, broadcasting to the UK and beyond.
The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch Radio or its affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised. You're listening to Kerry Greenaway and Mark Manley on the Dark Mirror Paranormal Show, only on Parasearch Radio.
Good evening and welcome to the Dark Mirror Show. It is your usual Friday evening of fun and frolics in the studio with my lovely Mr. Mark Manley. Good evening, Mark.
Good. You did say frolics, didn't you?
I did say frolics. Good evening.
Good. Jolly
Friday
good.
night.
Evening. It is. It's Friday night frolics.
Friday night frolics. And the lovely Kaz Rooney. Good evening, Kaz.
Good evening.
So, what's our topic for this week? Well, we thought we'd have a look at the paranormal hangover because we all talk about it on the day after investigations. And is it a real thing, or is it just a physiological thing, or is it a psychological thing, or what actually is a paranormal hangover? Now, I get them. Do you get them, Mark?
You get them after drinking spirits.
We get that. We definitely get them after drinking spirits. But do we get them after we interact with spirits? Do you get them?
See, we had this discussion the other day, didn't we? And I said to you, because I don't have a gift like you two do. So I know that with people with gifts, it takes it out of you a lot more. But I do get the knackered and drained the next day and this, that and the other. But is that from, because as you know, when I do investigations, I used to drive all over the country. So is it from that? Is it from the late nights? Is it from concentrating on the tech all the time? Or is it from being used as a human battery?
Kaz, do you get them, babe?
You know I get them.
Oh, I know. I'm always wiped out the day after investigation, but I always kind of, I kind of see it in two different ways, in all honesty. I do kind of see it in two different ways because I've had it after I've done a big event, a mind, body and spirit affair as well. So I actually, when I wrote a blog about it, I actually classed it as an energy hangover rather than a paranormal hangover. It was only when I did the paranormal I realised it was sort of like hitting both fields. So whatever it is, it's a drain on you in a physical way, isn't it? It manifests in a physical way.
Yeah, very much so.
I think when you know that the spirit realm works on your off energy, and it just so happens that you happen to be a AAA battery for one of them, then yeah, it's going to drain you.
But you know what? I've got another theory about that because it's occurred to me looking at it. People that I've spoken to, people that are actually empaths are hit harder.
Funny enough, you should say that. I know. Yeah.
People there, and they've got the spirit interaction as well, so they've got both draining them.
Yeah, I know a couple of empaths, and they do get wiped very, very easily.
Okay.
It
is one of those, isn't it? It does seem that way. Now, is it because a sensitive, should we say, we'll use the word sensitive, because whether you're psychic, empathic, we'll use the word sensitive. Is it because you haven't...
What about psychopathic?
You can use that one too. It takes energy. It definitely takes energy to be psychopathic.
Just putting it out there.
Is it because I've lost my train of thought now? Is it because they're not grounded properly before an investigation, or is it purely just the, the energy that you're expending in a different way on an investigation? Do you think?
Me person, let Kaz go. She knows more about this than I do.
I don't think. I mean, you can ground yourself, and most investigators or sensitives are going to make sure they're grounded themselves, but I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference, to be fair.
I agree with that.
Okay, or is it lack of protection? So you're not allowing spirit to come so close to drain you of your energy?
I think if something wants to come in close to you, it will, no matter what. Even if it can't actually get you per se, but it can get past a lot of defences. Remember those woods we went to?
Yeah.
Yeah, the first time we went to those woods, what happened? The second time we went to those woods, and we had a lot of people, some particularly powerful people with us, and we did a really good grounding. Absolutely fine.
Yeah, it was unusual. So, a real hangover from drinking spirits. This is why we call it the paranormal hangover, because the symptoms are very, very similar. I mean, a real hangover when you've been, as I say, going out and drinking the old spirits, you get dehydrated, you get irritable the next day, you're sensitive to light, you're headachy, you're nauseous, you're tired.
Do you get sensitive to garlic as well?
Only if you've eaten too much of it, I would say.
So just going on the sensitive to light thing. That was all.
Yeah, we're all vampires, really. Paranormal investigators are vampires. Now, there's a theory.
No, we can't do that because we'll have all them people, the conspiracy theorists going, oh my God, they're onto something, and there'll be other people from radio stations going, oh, for crying out loud.
I know, it'd be one of those crazies, wouldn't it? But so those are the symptoms of like a real life hangover. But so I actually started to look into the physiological side of things a little. I'm no physiological expert, you understand. But when you do a paranormal investigation, you have a disruption to your sleep patterns. You have temperature changes in the environment. I mean, how often have we been out and we're like, how many layers do we wear because it is so cold? You know what I mean? That's one of the reasons I won't do it in the winter now. I'm such a lightweight. I'm a summer investigator, everybody.
When we did that Halloween special around Canby Island, with Taylor and that lot, the temperatures were just ridiculous, especially when we were standing by the B-52 memorial.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and it was varying wherever you went. And then when we went up finished off at the castle at 2 a.m. in the morning, that was not particularly cold, but you had a low-lying mist that came in, and that was really cold, the mist itself.
That was freaky, though, the way that mist came in.
Wasn't it?
That was really freaky. Just to fill everybody in, we're actually the castle itself is actually high on a hill. It's completely ruined. It's not like a castle. It's like just ruins. And as we're all stood up on this hill doing, I can't even remember what we were doing at the time. Probably an EVP session. This low-lying mist literally just came rolling up the hill, and it was like one of the freakiest sights of all the things, that was one of the freakiest. It's completely natural phenomena because where we live, it's like it's on the estuary, so it was coming up from the estuary, wasn't it? So it's completely natural phenomena, but certainly you could see the mist line as it was coming up the hill, and we were all like, "Ooh, that's really weird."
The guests were going, "Oh!"
It certainly really set the atmosphere, didn't it?
Just a little bit. Funnily enough, I'm sorry to get back to the subject. I'm just actually reading an article on a website called Haunted New Harmony by Joni Mayhem, and it's about the paranormal hangover. And a lot, you know what we were saying about energy thieves and stuff like that?
Yeah.
The spirits coming up. Yeah, she's saying exactly the same thing. She thinks it's due to energy thieves. So, and there's a couple of other people on the site who've also said the same thing. So I think it is.
I think that, I say, there are two very, very different ways of looking at the paranormal hangover. I think you can look at it from the effects of the environment on your body. I mean, the other thing is what you eat. I mean, we all take like snacks, and generally they're like quite high sugar, like chocolate and, chocolate. Maybe,
I eat
for
curry
me.
purely because I like to annoy the ghosts with rip snorters, so I eat curry.
And the high sugar and caffeine. We all, caffeine drinks or lots of coffee. So the physiological effects of all of those four things are actually quite, they actually have quite an effect on your body while you're investigating. So could it be just the physiological effect of those four factors on your body after, like, the morning after the night before?
I've got a link. Just worked out a link.
What?
Aliens.
Oh, no. We have aliens in the room already, and we're only 10 minutes in.
Aliens.
How can it possibly be aliens?
Aliens? Well, bear with me on this one, because this is one that...
This is a reach, Kaz. I can feel a reach coming on.
It is. We're out on investigations in the middle of the night in the open air, a lot of us, and it's the open air ones that drain us the most. And when you factor in temperature, weather, all that sort of stuff, batteries get drained, camcorders get switched off, this, that, and the other. Is that by any chance to do with the fact there's a chuffing great big UFO cloaked above us, and its energy signals bounce off and form an EMP and just wipe out our stuff and us? There you go, boom!
Well, there's a crazy theory for you. That's nearly as bad as they're all paranormal investigators vampires.
But it wouldn't be the dark mirror show without the alien.
Well, this is true. Even though we try so hard to pick topics where you can't possibly find an alien link, you manage to try and squeeze one in there every single week.
Oh, yes.
See, the environment, temperature does affect your equipment, doesn't it? So why would it not affect your body? It's going to.
Well, it affects the equipment on my body, I can tell you that, especially if it's cold.
Well, we all have that problem. I mean, I looked into, me, I do like to go a little deeper in regards to...
Really?
I do. I know it's hard to believe. But the disruption to your sleep patterns actually affects a thing called the hypothalamus, which is like a gland in your body. Now, this gland is responsible for lots and lots of different things, but one of those, or two of those, is melatonin and serotonin. Yeah. And they can, and that can actually have real effects on your body in the same way that a real alcoholic hangover can have.
Well, the hypothalamus... You sleep. The whole reason you sleep is because your body secretes like a liquid that yes, exactly, that washes the brain, so to speak. And the hypothalamus needs to have that stuff washing it, because if it doesn't, that's what happens through lack of sleep. So yeah, you do have to have that sleep to just wash it. So
that kind of explains part of a paranormal hangover, doesn't it? I mean, I looked into temperature, the temperature effects on your body. Now, if you suffer from problems with your joints, like arthritis, for example, the actual fluid around those joints thickens in cold weather. So that's another effect on your body, isn't it? That can make you feel sluggish and tired and yucky the next day.
It is temperature and this, that, and the other, but my thing is still the energy thing, because, they're supposed to be all time. In fact, I've just had a good idea for a show. Energy vampires. There you go.
I'll write it down.
There are actually theories that there are people out there who live just purely off energy. You know, when somebody will walk past you and all of a sudden you feel really tired or knackered or something like that. Yeah,
I mean, we've all had that, haven't we?
Yeah. So going along that theory line, then surely if there are the further realm. So you've got people who can steal energy, but they're like in like us, but their physiology is different, so they can only do it sort of survive by having energy. What happens when you go to the other spectrum? They've passed on, we've passed on, and spirits live, as you know yourself, they can only interact with us with energy. So when you go along the same lines of that, all the supernatural, paranormal, spiritual things use energy. So, I'm not drunk, and I can assure you I haven't had any drugs, but I'm just thinking, things
See,
that
no,
use
that
as a
makes sense to
battery.
me. Being a spiritual baby,
Yeah.
that makes sense to me. And like you said, everybody has had that experience where they've had a friend or got talking to somebody, and then you come away from that person and you are exhausted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You feel you do feel completely drained. So if that's true in this, what is it? A third dimensional world? Yeah. How would that be different in the spirit realm? Assuming that the spirit realm is real, obviously. You know what I mean?
That I can answer. I can answer that one.
Go on,
and
then.
I think you guys possibly use these as well. Meridians.
Yeah.
Your body has meridians, yeah? Well, the meridians are conduits for the electricity and the energy, chi, the force, whatever you want to call it. I use meridians, I use chi. When we're gone, we don't have those meridians. We don't have that flow, so we can't control it. But when you go over to whatever dimension it is we go to, and we're pure energy or whatever we are, but we still retain our us.
Yeah.
It's like a difference between a battery and a bolt of lightning. Battery's contained. It's as if it's got a meridian. Yeah, you can drain it, you can recharge it, this, that, and the other. A bolt of lightning, no, you can't. You can't really contain that. You can't really do anything with it. It just goes bang. That's it. And if there's anybody near it, it affects everything around it.
True. That's actually quite a good analogy, Mark.
You're welcome.
That's good, actually.
I like that analogy. Did you, Kaz?
Yeah, I do.
My God, I did something right.
You woohoo! So, Kaz,
Yeah.
what can we do then in the field to stop us from getting the energy hangover or paranormal hangover? I mean, obviously, from a physical side, we can take certain measures, can't we, to reduce the environmental effects.
Yeah.
So we don't take high sugar things, we don't drink the high sugar drinks, we keep an eye on our caffeine intake. We can do all those things, make sure we're well rested before we go to an investigation, sort of charge our own bodies up, as it were, like you do all your kit. But from a spiritual perspective, what can we do?
All you can do is ground yourself, protect yourself, and hope it's enough. From a spiritual perspective, that's all you can do. You can only ground yourself and protect yourself. But in all honesty, like Mark has already said, if a spirit really wants to get that close to you, it's going to manage it.
I don't think they can necessarily get all the way, but I think
no, but they can drain
the barriers are
They
if
can
they're
draw
a really
that
strong
energy,
one.
yeah.
that energy from you.
Yeah.
And how many times have you heard me say that if they haven't got the energy, use our energy?
Yeah, people use that on a regular basis, don't they?
Yeah.
Which I think sometimes is a silly thing to do, personally.
Well, the other thing is people go...
Out there anyway. The energy's out anyway, so you're as well making use of it. Put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing is we say, if it's not like use my energy, you're basically free-willing spirit. I mean, going on the fact that you believe that spirits are real, which
are we talking about
do.
spirits or whales now?
Whales?
Free Willy.
No, I'm still lost.
Never mind.
She said free willing.
No.
Free willing.
You just said free
Oh,
willing. and I said
I said free will.
No, you said free willing.
Free willing. Yeah, you're free will. Oh God, you throw me every time. I'm like, what? What's he talking about? Every week. At some point I go, huh?
What you can't see, ladies and gentlemen, is an orca has literally just jumped over Carrie's head.
Where was I? Yes, you're. Oh God, I'm now really conscious of saying that word. You give your free will away, basically, by saying, come close, take my energy. But you also do it in saying, touch me, hit me, push me. You know, you're giving them your free will, you're basically saying, do what you want. You know what I mean? Use me as a tool, when we shouldn't really be doing that, should we?
I'm hoping I'm chipping on this one. I never, ever allow them to touch me.
No, I don't either.
I do.
You do?
I tell you.
Oh, Kaz does.
But at the end of the day, you're there to investigate, you're there to get evidence, so you're gonna go with it. And you do end up saying, yes, push me, touch this person, do this, do that. You do that. You'll find 9 times...
You can touch anybody else.
9 times out of 10, you'll hear one of us saying, like me, I would say, go and touch Matt.
Okay. Yeah. And you, Missy.
And just put it over that way. But you do that. We all do that.
So how often, after you've done that, do you actually get that physical response, as it were?
You don't always get it. That's the thing. You're not always going to get it, but you're putting it out there so that if they can, then you're allowing it to happen, basically.
Okay, so here's...
I'm going to remember that if we ever...
Mark?
I was going to say, I'm going to remember that when we go on an investigation together. If I hear Kaz going, oh, you can touch, I'm running. Just
yeah, we'll all be gagging her
in front of me. Oh, Terry!
Yeah, we'll be like gagging Kaz on an investigation from now on, won't we? No way. So here's a slightly different viewpoint. There is also a belief in the paranormal world that objects hold energy.
Yeah.
Right, now this is a great one for you, Kaz, because you do this quite often. And you're doing one, or you'll be doing one soon, won't you, at Annison's funeral parlour? Yeah. And you've actually said, isn't there a morgue slab?
Yes.
And someone's going to go into the morgue slab, aren't they?
What we did was we put... Stupid us. We put a poll up, and what we said was... We took myself and Matt and Brent and Sam from North Notts, and we said, right, there's our 4 names, pick someone to go. Out of the 2 men, one of the 2 men has got to go and lie in the coffin for 20 minutes, which is a transportational coffin.
Why was it just the men?
No, hang on. And out of the 2 female lead investigators from each team, one of us has got to go and lie in the slab.
So if when you do things like that, is that?
Oh dear.
I mean, you know, you're hoping to pick up the. It's almost like psychometry, I suppose, what you're trying to do in those kind of circumstances. So you're trying to draw the energy from the object to get an impression.
Yeah.
So it's a two-way thing then, isn't it? So we're drawing energy ourselves from the environment to try and, from a spiritual perspective, everybody, this is. So we're trying to draw the energy or the impressions or whatever it is that's encoded into an object to get information, or if there's an attachment to said object, interaction with that entity. And then why then is it such a surprise that they don't do that back to us?
No.
One thing I've got to say with I've always thought this with books and stuff. People 99.9% of the time die before they get to the morgue, so the energy's left by the time the bodies get to the morgue. And I've always wondered, you know, when you get certain TV shows that do things in the morgue, and then they start leaping about all over the place, saying, "Oh, there's such a here, and he's this, and he's that, and he's..." In my head, I'm like, well, he didn't die there, so why would he be there? You see what I mean? He's left before you get to the morgue.
No, I agree. I'm with you on that one. But it's not just about the people in the morgue. People would have worked in the morgue, or in certain circumstances, when you have to go and I don't know how this process works because I'm luckily enough I've never had to do it. But if you have to go and identify a body, isn't that on a morgue slab?
No. When we had to identify it, no, I don't. When we identified our son, he was in a chapel arrest, and I suppose it is a slab, isn't it? But he was covered. You just saw his head and stuff, and he was ice cold. But it wasn't a slab. It's a bit like a table, sort of. It wasn't like a morgue slab or anything like that. The chapel arrest, because you can't go into the morgue to do your identification. It's either a window in a wall at a hospital or you go to a chapel arrest. America's different. Okay. But...
I was just a thought. I said I don't know how that process worked. But what my point there really was, the emotion, all right, it's not going to come from the person that had died, but it would still have a strong emotional reaction around that, which is one of the things we say is why it gets imprinted, isn't it?
Yeah, that I can believe, like the chapel arrest, because, having unfortunately been there myself, I know I bawled like a 2-year-old, and so did my missus. So if you've got lots of people doing that, you've got that energy coming out, whether it's relief, sadness, love, whatever, that's all going to come out. And if there's, I'm a great one for the stone tape theory, so if there's anywhere in the building, in bedrock, anything, it's going to take it and absorb it and store it up.
Yeah. I mean, that's an area that I'm actually researching myself, the stone tape theory, but that's slightly off topic because let's go back to the paranormal hangover. That's another topic for another day because we're talking about the effects of assess. Right, so going on another theory that's out there in the paranormal world is that we manifest any activity that's occurring in the location for whatever reason, whether it be a telepathic interaction or whether or not it be linking into the collective unconscious or stuff like that. Why would that have an effect?
That's people who've been watching DC and Marvel again. Spidey powers, really?
Well, you say that, but I buy into it. I don't think that's such a wacky theory. Particularly when you look at poltergeist, we say that comes from hormonal teenagers, effectively, or puberty. And that's an external manifestation of a...
In fairness, you would say poltergeists are heightened by hormonal teenagers.
Yeah.
But I don't say they're particularly just the cause of it, but they do heighten it.
I was just about to say, actually, because poltergeist means noisy spirit, so it's spontaneous, that spirit's already there. It's just got that kicker to kick it up the backside and give it the boost,
It's just copying teenagers, basically.
Yeah. Even Mrs. Patterson. But what I was going to say is on the energy side of it, because as you know yourselves, I work with energy, and it's going to sound really weird, but I don't mean it in a weird way. I've put my chi through Kerry when we've done human pendulum, and herself and another Kerry have all said, "Oh, blimey, I felt that." So we all know energy's there, but I think for moving things around and stuff like that, unless you've got ESP, I can project energy for a little tiny bit, but not enough to, I don't know, tug somebody.
That is the thing with it, isn't it? But recently we've lost a main player in the paranormal field, guy Lyon Playfair. He passed, didn't he, this week, which is a great loss to the paranormal field. But he had a fantastic viewpoint of energy in regards to, it was to do more with the poltergeist from his workings with the Enfield poltergeist. And he basically said, like, when you have this prepubescent energy, it kind of floats around. It's excessive energy that comes out, and basically a passing spirit or elemental will come along and go, "Oh, energy," and play with it. And that's why poltergeists only last for a period of time. They're not an ongoing thing. It's not like 20 years later you've still got the same poltergeist kicking around in a location. It tends to last for literally that period of time where you've got that puberty situation going on within the environment. So
let me throw one at you. with regards to that, with regards to that theory of energy floating around and a passing spirit going, "Ooh-hoo-hoo!" The entity that lasted for several years. True story. I've read upon it and that. And what was that similar, or was that a horny ghost? Was it a succubus? Was it an incubus? Was it one going, "Oh, ladies," or what?
It could have just been a physical manifestation of our own frustrations. When you look at the cases, I mean, you look at. I don't know the entity case particularly well. Sorry. Yeah, it was the entity, wasn't it? You're talking about?
Yeah, basically she moved. She moved a long distance and it followed her.
Yeah,
so
it happened about 3 or 4 times, didn't it?
But doesn't that suggest that it was actually a manifestation from her own body? I mean, we know the brain is an absolutely phenomenal tool, and can create some fantastic things. I mean, people have created tulpas before now, which are like external manifestations of a spirit that's been built up, like the Phillips experiment. There are other cases, and it's called a tulpa. So we know that. We've gone well off the topic of paranormal hangover, haven't we?
We have. One thing I was going to say, actually, to do with paranormal hangovers, and again, it's you guys have your gifts, and like I said, the only thing I can do is I can use chi, which I sound like an absolute nutter or wise old martial arts master. I was taught black medicine and white medicine through ninjutsu, and that's where I learnt to use it from. But one of the things I do to summon it up is it's going to sound really, really bizarre. I either do the gold chain thing, where you've got chi in your hand and a gold chain going to your heart, and it goes everywhere, or I do the blue and the green lightning. And I find that when I do the blue and the green lightning, you have green lightning coming out from the earth and blue lightning coming down from the heavens, and you keep it in the ball of your hand. When I do that, that is the most powerful chi I can do. And I have, in demonstrations, not people flying with it and this, that, and the other. But I am knackered afterwards. The next day, I am shattered.
Because that, in regards to paranormal hangover, this is, when I started looking at it from, so this is before my paranormal days. This was when I was working spiritually, and I classed it as an energy hangover because, as I say, that's where I first experienced that. Was it coming out off the back of an MBS? I was exhausted. You know what I mean? I was thinking, God, yes, I've done a big event, and yes, I've been talking all day, and yes, I've been doing those, you have to be on the ball because you're talking about your topic all day and all that sort of stuff. But it was more than a physical tiredness, because normally I'd come off being quite buzzy. You know what I mean? Like, it's had a great day. I've sold loads of crystals. It's been amazing. I've met loads of people. It's, you come off an event quite hyper, because it's been a busy day, and you know what it's like when you've done that. But the energy hangover, I said it was like your ability, your sensitivity is like a muscle. So if you don't regularly work that muscle, in the same way as you've just said about your chi, if you're not regularly doing that, it's like a physical muscle. If you go out and do a heavy workout in the gym like today, and you've not worked out for months and months, you are going to feel it the next day.
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, when I do my kickboxing stuff, that's it. I'm knackered for about 3-4 days afterwards, and I'm walking like a little old man.
Exactly. So why would your ability, air quoting, sensitivity, ability, whatever word you want to link it to, why would that not be the same if you don't use it on a regular basis? So if you're literally a sensitive and who only uses it when you're out on a paranormal investigation, and you're only doing that once every 2 weeks, once a month, you're going to have that effect because you've used a muscle, a psychic muscle, that you don't normally use. So in a physical way, you would feel it as well, but you'd also feel it in that way too.
No, I do agree with that. But it's also what I was trying to get at is the fact that you're using energy once you've expended that energy in whichever field you're doing it. Because when I use it, I either use it for like getting rid of headaches and aches and pains and stuff like that, or if I'm using it in demos, I expend it, expel it out of me and use it for breaking, blowing candles out, this sort of weird stuff. But with you guys, it's a more internal thing, isn't it? You use it to commune, and it bounces backwards and forwards to you, doesn't it? So if you've got that going on, surely it's going to screw you guys up a lot more than it would me.
Kaz?
The thing being, I mean, yeah, Kerry, you've made a good point that you do need to be using it. But if you think about it, if you're sensitive, then chances are you're using it on a daily basis anyway.
That's true.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
You do use it whether you intend to or not. So, I mean, like someone else's mood would drastically alter my mood, whether I want to or not. It doesn't matter if I've protected myself. If it's bad enough, it can affect me in a really bad way. But the same way, if someone's in a really good mood, it can lift you up. You're using it every day.
Yeah. To be honest, chocolate does that with me.
I'm trying to avoid chocolate.
Why?
I'm trying to be good, not eat so much chocolate.
We just have come off the back of Easter, though, so, you know, it's a little difficult sometimes, isn't it, to avoid the chocolate factor. I mean, when you look at going on to the physiological effects, the high sugar content, if you have a lot to keep you going throughout the evening, like, and when I say a lot, I'm not talking like excessive amounts. I'm saying more than you would normally have.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, high energy drinks, and then you have a bar of chocolate, which you get to about 1 or 2 in the morning. You kind of need a bit of an energy boost, don't you? So it's quite common. It's snack time. Yeah. You know, like you shove down a chocolate bar or you have another energy drink or whatever. Now that, the after effects of that, if you're not used to that sugar intake, yes, it gives you the energy kick on the night, but the following day, again, it has very, very similar physiological effects on your body the day after, in the same way that alcoholic hangover does. Thirsty, headaches, lack of concentration, tiredness. I mean, a lot of these things are also diuretics. Can
I just point one prime example of this out there? And for those of you who've seen the video of Taylor in my car squeezing the Wookiee that goes, "Horror," you'll know exactly what I mean. And there you go. Carrie's already starting not to laugh. My youngest, when she has coffee, goes absolutely, and I'm going to swear slightly, batshit crazy. She's climbing the walls, leaping about, going everywhere. When anybody gives her coffee, you literally see me looking at them going, oh, shit. Because I know what's coming.
We ban her. We ban her from the coffee.
Yeah. And then
it only takes one. It only takes one coffee as well. It's not like it's like reams and reams of coffee.
Yeah. And then the next day, she's knackered and in bed. Well, pretty much she's part human, part duvet anyway, but she's in bed a little bit more. See, that's exactly the same thing. She's had that caffeine and gone, and then that's it, run out. It is strange how things can have an effect on your body, isn't it? Yeah. And if they have it on a physiological basis, then you have to leap to that. Well, you don't have to leap to the assumption. It's a medically proven fact that it can cause other factors in regards to your psychological factor as well. I've got another one for you as well. Energy goes on frequencies. What happens if you know how some people, you can listen to their voices and you relax, or there's some voices and you listen to them and you think, Jesus H. Christ, get some elocution, you know, or there's, you know, it's is there a similar thing with energies? If people have got the same frequency energy as you when they come near you, is that when you just feel totally at home, relaxed, old soul, known them years ago, past lives, or is it something different? That's a good point.
That is a good point.
Is it a frequency thing? Bearing in mind, when you're out locations, frequencies come in, like just looking at it, you know, you've looked at it from a person-to-person sort of thing, which we can all resonate with. That's why your oldest friends are the ones that you got, you know. I would say because your frequencies are you're on the same we say it, we're on the same frequency. You know what I mean? And then you meet other people, and for some reason, they could be the loveliest person in the world, but you just don't like them. And so your frequency isn't like resonating with each other. You just don't get it. Right? Yeah. This could be the same, though, with frequencies, environmental frequencies, and that could be from power lines, that could be from radio signals, that could be from, I don't know, you know, loads of other different types of frequencies that I can't think of right this second.
Well, you look at the interference you get from high power grids and this, that, and the other, and there's some equipment you have to switch off because it'll ruin them. So why can't it be the same with, say, a particularly strong entity or something who is highly charged, got a very strong frequency, and as soon as you go near it, when you get the headaches and everything like that, because you also get that from high EMF, and as we all know, high EMF, what is that? Electrical magnetic force. And then you get two magnets, is another example. Push two magnets that are exactly the same strength, put them together, what do they do? Bounce apart.
Repel, yeah.
Why does that not happen with frequencies?
Why? Well, again, I mean, I'm not a physicist, so I can't answer that question, but it is maybe a factor. I mean, we did a show on EMF. I didn't. Well, we didn't. That was the
You're
Paranormal
unbelievable.
And we looked at that, and that's actually part of the light spectrum. And it was really, really interesting when I started looking at EMFs. Although the World Health Organization have looked into quite extensively the effect an EMF could have on your body, they came up with inconclusive results. However, how many people have said, and this is from a day-to-day basis, the effect they believe has had on their physical well-being?
I will give you two prime. Well, I'll give you a prime example, and then I'll tell you something else about the EMF. Do you remember a certain dance studio that had a particular hallway? Yes. And that hallway, people were hallucinating, feeling sick, seeing things, this, that, and the other. Yeah.
Corner of the eye, wasn't it? There was a lot of corner of the eye things. Like
and when I went,
knee-jerk reactions all the time.
And when I went down there with my EMF meter, put it on the side of the wall, because there was a room that had loads of electric meters in, and as soon as I put that EMF meter on the wall, on the outside of it, in the hallway, bang, completely off the scales. That's why people were seeing and hearing things. But on the other end of it, EMF, yes, you're right, it is part of the invisible light spectrum as well. And as we all know, strobe lights, things like that, can induce fits, hypnotic effects, this, that, and the other. When you play certain games on your computer or on the consoles, it'll make you feel sick when you're playing them, and you get motion sickness and this, that, and the other. But the EMF spectrum is, they think, and they've been looking into it, slightly on the side of the strobe effect, but as in like ultraviolet, infrared strobe effect, so we don't know what's going on.
So there's so many factors, aren't there, that you have to consider before you get to the... I mean, I say, I'm a spiritual baby, so Kaz is a spiritual baby, you know what I mean? We will look at it from a spiritual perspective in regards to...
I just look at it from aliens.
I know what I experienced on that night in regards to how I interacted with the energy of the location or an entity that was there, or, whatever way you work in the field in a spiritual way. Again, we can only put that down to personal experience. But that is, I think, I keep saying think.
Elocution, dear girl!
I know, I keep going. And then it's afterwards, I just said, I think. It's like proper Essex coming out now. I think, getting back to my, radio voice, I think, though, that it is both. I think you've got to look at it from your body is a temple, and you have to charge it in the proper way before an investigation. So you have to look at the physiological effects pre-investigation, what your intake is in regards to sugars and caffeines and temperatures and stuff like that. You have to look at the environment. You have to look at it from a spiritual perspective as well, because it is, even if I've done an intense working, like a ritual or something on a new moon or a full moon, or, just a ritual working, you can still feel this effect the next day if you're not careful.
Yeah.
Can I just say my body is a temple, but it is the kind of temple that normally has Tomb Raider coming in the back door and avoiding all traps because it's falling apart.
I think we're all a little bit like that, Mark.
Yeah.
I don't mind having a body that's a temple that has Lara Croft coming after it, because I'm be like, okay, come and get the goodies. But,
Oh dear, that was one of the best outfits I ever wore, was Lara Croft outfit. I felt so empowered wearing that outfit, it was untrue. Anyway, that's a different story. Fancy dress party, all I'm saying. So it was, trust me. So, but yeah, going back to the spiritual side, if you've done an intense working, and Kaz, you've done this too, when you've done various things in regards to the spiritual side of things, you have to be very careful and aware of the energy output you're putting into that kind of working, because again, actually with that, it's not so much the day after, because you're not really doing it an all night. It's not an all nighter, but you still have that effect the next day, don't you?
Oh yeah. Yeah, you're going to, because you're using your energy.
Exactly.
Even
though it's not you like doing a full-blown marathon or something.
But in the spiritual sense, you're still using a lot of energy to put out and do what you have to do. But something that I think needs to be brought up, when you're talking about paranormal hangovers, you've got to remember, with like myself or yourselves, if you're going and doing an event, you've got the preparation for the event.
Yeah.
You've got 9 times out of 10, you've got to travel quite a bit of distance.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen me travelling 4 or 5 hours to get to a location.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got to look after everybody. Then you've got to set up. Then you're trying to communicate with spirit. And then you're still looking after everybody, and you're still doing... You use a massive amount of energy before you even get anywhere near the location.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
totally
a
agree
really
with
fair
that.
point. I mean, we've said, when you get to the investigation, the first, 1 hour, 2 hours, it's manic, isn't it? Because you're excited, your adrenaline's kicking, because you've got to your location, and it's always exciting when you get to a new location, isn't it? Particularly if you've never been to one before. So you're running around, you're exploring, you're having a quick recce of what the location is, setting up equipment, talking to your team. Probably haven't seen your team mates for a while, because we don't all live in each other's pockets, So you might talk on the phone, excuse me, a lot, but, it's that... Oh, hi, how are you? So your energy level's at a peak when you hit a location to start with. And then you've got that frenetic activity where you're setting up your kit and you're settling in. And then by the time it settles down, so the adrenal factor is something to consider as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because then, we know you can sit there for hours and hours and nothing happened. So you've got that peak to start with. Then you come down and you're like, right, okay, settle down, let's get working. You're working sensitive, psychic or sensitive ways, whatever way you want to class that as. And then something happens. And your automatic response is an adrenaline kick.
Yeah.
Even if you've been doing it 20 million years, you will still get an adrenaline kick when something happens. Whether that's, oh, quick, write it down in my book, or quick, did we catch that on the recorder? Oh, check that, check this. I mean, we had banging on an investigation once, and we had a door rattling. We had a door rattling. All right, better wording. Starting to learn. We had a door rattling, and there's that rush to... Not rush, but you let the activity happen, and then you check to see if there was a reason for that. So you're running. It's not the right terminology, but you know what I mean. You're going around. You're checking the wind. Has the wind got up outside? Is there a person outside that's knocking on the location door that could have caused it? You're checking the positions of everybody. So your brain, like I say, you then kick into an activity from nothing to all of a sudden everything. You know what I mean? Happening at once. So is all of these factors kind of build up to... It's hardly surprising you get a hangover the next day. You know what I mean? One way or another.
It's the fight or flight thing, isn't it? It's the fight or flight thing. When classic example, when back in the days when I used to do the tournaments and stuff, especially when I won the British Cruiserweight title, walking down to that ring, the adrenaline and energy that was pumping in me, my God, I mean, I battered my opponent, but that was it. For about 3 or 4 days, I was wiped out. And literally, after I won the title, I broke down in the ring, because my instructor was a world heavyweight champion. He was like, and this is what you could do when you're disabled, and this, that, and the other. And I was the energy and relief that just came off me. I broke down like a complete nana in front of everybody. And I went back to the van and I slept for something like 8 hours, and then came back in and they were still having a party. But I was knackered for about 3 or 4 days afterwards.
Yeah. But you've also got, you think of, so you've got the build-up from yourself going through that. It's no different, is it? You've got all that prep work that you had to do before that fight. You had all that, the day of the fight, that build-up. Then you have to get there. Then you walk into that arena location, and you've got that energy buzz because a crowd. You know, if you walk into a concert, it's palpable.
You've got the energy from them.
When you've got a crowd
energy.
of people all excited, or you know, I'm gonna say you walk into just a pop concert or rock concert in regards to Kaz. It's palpable, isn't it? That you can feel that electric buzz in the air from people's emotions that are kicking off. Yes, okay, so we're talking investigations, it's a smaller thing. If you go to a large public investigation, you've got 40 people on there. Yeah. You've got a whole range of emotions kicking off there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when you walk into that hub room and you're doing the pre-investigation talk things that you do, you know, you're just as excited, even if you're a seasoned investigator, because you're feeding that.
You could cut the atmosphere with a knife, and that saying's very, very true. As you said, it's palpable almost. So, yeah, you could cut it with a knife, and that is because everybody's on the adrenaline's going, and they're all pumping, and they're like, they want to be scared, and they want to find something, and they want to be made to jump, and I just like making investigators jump, don't I, Kerry?
Yes,
and things like that, you know. Yeah.
He does. Yeah. Everybody. He's only managed it once.
Once?
In my head, it's once. I'm on count and it's once. On Mark's head, it's probably about 20 times. I will only admit to the once where I will let out a little eek.
That
squeak,
was a good one. That
a little
was a
squeak. One. It wasn't a scream. I won't even admit to the scream. I'll just admit to a squeak. I'm not a screamer. That's all I can say. On investigations.
Moving on.
Yeah, moving swiftly on. So, where was I going with that? Atmosphere. And that doesn't even take into account the actual atmosphere. Even if you've only got a tiny, tiny team, the atmosphere of a location can be very telling on you straight away. When you walk around a location, and I love to do this, I love to get to a location, dump the stuff, and then literally just go for a wander and check out the location before I do anything. You know what I mean? But that's a lot to do with how I work in the field, but I don't think people are any different because it's exciting. You want to check out the location. You know what I mean? You want to see where you're at.
There's also another thing I've noticed on some investigations, and on these particular investigations, there's been a lot more activity. And I don't know if you guys will agree with me on this one, but either before a storm or after a storm, you know, when you've got the electrical discharge in the sky, the atmosphere is way up there. A lot more stuff happens. And do you remember what I said about the difference between a human and a bolt of lightning? Yeah. Whilst you've got that energy building up, why can't the things that are there that you're investigating, why can't they also be hyped up and hyper and this and the other, because they know what's coming and they know what they can do?
Yeah. Or if you've got more than one spirit, maybe they're having a little party.
Yeah. That's what I mean, because they know that big bolt's going to be coming and they're like, yay!
Bring it on! Like Casper.
Yeah. Yeah, like Casper. Yeah,
well,
like
he got excited, didn't he, Casper? He used to get very excited.
He looked like an egg.
Well, I know it's, you know. How cool would that be, though, if you got a Casper on film going, hi, my ionic sphere is high tonight, let's party.
You know, that's one thing with the paranormal field. Even if you got the best video footage of a ghost on there, you would have about 20 or 30 other teams going, nope, Photoshop, nope, fake.
How funny would it be, though? But again, a lot of it's down to personal experience, isn't it? I mean, even on the spiritual, we can sit there and preach till the cows come home about what we experienced and what we're getting on the night. We can't prove it. We can't have something wired up to our brain that is showing the brain patterns of what you're doing when you're doing it. Well, I suppose you could, but it'd be really expensive to buy that kit, wouldn't it? Just a little bit.
I think that's for you.
I don't think I'd even want to use that kind of kit if you could buy it.
Can you imagine what that would do to you if you had that on your brain and everything we've just been talking about, everything working off energy? If you've got that on your head, connected to your brain, connected to the energy, say you had a mischievous spirit there, and it was particularly, remember we said they can get through past your defences if they really, really want to. What happens if they're there playing on a screen with an invisible keyboard going, "You will now say my rosy red nipples," and stuff like that? And you know? And you'd be there going, "Now, ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to do today is have a look at my rosy red nipples."
Oh, my God. But there are experiments being done. I know there's a big study going off in America under laboratory conditions where they'll get like a healer in, like a Reiki healer or a medium in. And whilst the medium is doing a reading for somebody, they are all wired up to see if they can... I don't know. I don't think they've released any results from this yet. But I do believe they are starting or trying to map the brain neurological side of things to see if they can work out whether or not it is a psychological manifestation or there is something more.
There's a lot of our brain that we don't use. There's 70% or more of our DNA is locked and we don't know what it's for. You've got that blood group. I can't remember which blood group it is, but it doesn't come from any humans.
It's
and it's like
one.
I know. I think that's the one my mother's got. I know it's one of the rarest blood groups in the world, and it doesn't come from anybody. Aliens, hello!
So we've now actually got an alien in the room in the Dark Mirror show. We haven't just talking about them, we actually have one.
No, that's my mother's blood group. Mine's common as muck, but hers is one of the rarest ones. But that's my thing. Where did that come from?
It is strange when you start looking at it, but going back to topic, because that could be a whole new topic. We've touched on so many new topics tonight. But the paranormal hangover, whatever way you want to look at it, it is a real thing, whether or not you look at it from a scientific point of physiological, effect, or, just, a spiritual way, whatever way you want to look at it, it has, investigating, has an effect on your body. And the next day, you will feel those effects like you've had a good night out raving.
Yeah.
If you're doing it properly, that is. If you're not a lightweight.
You mean like you would?
If you're not a lightweight at home by 1 a.m. in the morning.
You mean like you were to take that concert, yeah?
I would what?
Like you were to take that concert.
Oh, I would go to a concert or go raving any day of the goddamn week. You know me. You know me. I'm also a party girl, spiritual party girl. I'm like proper hippie chick. Hardly.
There's one thing I want to point out.
Yeah.
Paul Rook. We need to pull him up. Because that poll I did, out of all the people in my group, he's the only one who actually voted that paranormal hangovers are just an excuse for investigators to sleep late the next day.
It's just an excuse. Could you imagine that, though? The next day, it's the day after the night before. Your other half's like, been at home, so he is up in the morning and, come on, we've got a day's stuff to get on. You're like, oh, but I was out till like 4 a.m. investigating and oh my God. And, I've got a paranormal hangover, man. It's just an excuse for you to sleep late. If you choose to go out all night investigating, that's your lookout. But whether or not it's, for whatever the reasons are, I love that poll, actually. Is it a real thing? Yes, it blooming well is.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Funnily enough.
No, different from if you've gone out clubbing all night and you look at the effects of that on your body. You could say there's a lot of parallels in a lot of different things. Even if you go to a concert and you're home by a reasonable hour, you still feel exhausted the next day for lots of different reasons. And paranormal investigating is no different. I always, if I go out investigating, I kind of wipe out the day after. I take it easy, I have a decent meal, I, potter around, but I'm not actually overly productive. I'll tend to nap a lot. And I don't normally sleep, me, my sleep patterns are all over the place on a day-to-day normal life basis. So for me, you think, oh, she'll be all right because she's used to not sleeping till like 4 or 5 in the morning. But I still feel it the next day if I've been investigating.
Yeah. The day
Yeah,
after the
definitely.
investigation, you're guaranteed I will be on the sofa just eating junk and watching Game of Thrones. That's it.
Gotta love it, Game of Thrones. You have to have a box set marathon the day after, don't you? That's always the one.
Yeah.
And a big roast dinner.
Oh, God, yeah. So
Oh.
you're tired, food, and just lying there farting, watching TV.
Well, I wouldn't say the farting bit, but you know.
Really? Really?
Anyway, we've actually come to the end of the show on that note. And don't forget, guys, we have a competition running at the moment for a tarot reading with your very own Kerry Greenaway. That'd be me. You don't have to come to my house. It's all done via Skype. So all you have to do is go to the Parasearch Radio group page and enter your name on the post, and you will get entered into the draw. We draw that on the 20th of April, I believe. Also, don't forget, go check out our website. It's parasearchradio.com. You'll find out all about the presenters, various blogs, which these guys have promised me they're going to be writing a blog for me on whatever topic they want. They can do whatever they want.
I glazed over then. What?
Yeah, I know. They keep doing this. They keep going like glassy-eyed when I keep talking to them about these blogs. Once they get the bit between their teeth, though, they're going to be off and running. Supporters of the page, like Lisa Michaels, Claire Hinks, she works mediumistically, my page, Trident, all of the supporters of Parasearch Radio are on there as well. And obviously, the shows are on there too. So you'll be able to listen to the latest show direct from the website as well. Not only that, we are on YouTube, we are on Podbean, we are on SoundCloud, we are on the Spreaker app. So if you've missed any of the shows, then you can catch up and listen on there too, including the archives. You know, we have hundreds of shows now behind us on various topics. Now, next week, Mark, we are talking paranormal and animals, aren't we?
Yeah, I reckon that'd be an interesting one to do. Well, actually, I suppose you could mix the two. You could do some cases involving like apparitions of animals, but I'm more interested in the effects of apparitions over animals.
We have got some really interesting topics coming up for you on Parasearch Radio. So don't forget, on the Parasearch Radio like page, you'll find all the events, so you'll be able to see weeks and weeks in advance what topics and what shows are coming up. And if there's a topic you'd like us to cover, just let us know. Anyway, on that note, thank you so much for joining us in the studio. Thank you for joining us in the chat room. Good night, Kaz.
Good night.
Good night, Marky.
Good night, Kaz. Good night, Kerry. Sleep well.
Oh, sleep well, everybody. I sleep. I think it's party time, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I'm going to do something.
That's always worrying when Mark says he's going to do something. Anyway, on that night, guys, thanks for joining us, and we shall see you next week on the Dark Mirror Show. Good night.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you for listening.
Bye-bye.
Don't
Aliens.
forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.